Theatrical Shenanigans with
Rachel Burttram
and
Brendan Powers.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 8 of our second season of Theatrical Shenanigans. We are almost at the end of this season, but we still have plenty more entertainment in the form of plays and guests to come, and today is no exception to that. But before I introduce my guest for this week, I want to take a moment and thank all of you who submitted your audio plays for season 3 of Theatrical Shenanigans. Believe me, the show couldn't take place without you, and I'm thrilled that the selection of the 10 plays for season 3 has been made, and it's been announced on our Facebook page. So if you're curious about what awaits you next season, then go and check it out there. But for now, we move on to our latest play and our latest guests. This week, I am being entirely spoilt because I have not one amazing guest, but two. As just one of their projects, they make up the wonderful hosts of the Tiny Theatre Productions, which was founded in the pandemic and saw plays being broadcast from their home to yours. Not only do they make a brilliant twosome, but they've had amazing careers in the world of theatre and film, including appearances in series on Netflix and Disney+. And now they have humbled me by joining me on Theatrical Shenanigans. They are Rachel Burttram and Brendan Powers. Welcome, guys.
Hey, Rachel.
We're so happy to be here with you.
So, as I said to start with, you both have had incredible careers outside of hosting Tiny Theatre. How did you both get started on your paths, as it were?
Well, I started theater in 10th grade and really it's been my focus pretty much ever since. I've had stints teaching and some, other outside jobs, but all the while I was always still pursuing theater. Whether I lived in New York for a bit, and then I was in New England, and then we've been in Florida for a long time, and now we find ourselves in Alabama. But for 25 years, I've been, a member of the Actors Union and have spent most of that time pursuing the beast.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone call it that before.
Pursuing the beast, which it really is. We often say that we feel like we're explorers in the jungle, and we're both trying to track down this elusive beast. And we said, hey, let's join forces and maybe we'll find it together. And sometimes we get very close. Sometimes we grab it, and then, so it's been an interesting journey. But yeah, I've done it for pretty much my whole life. It's been my focus.
And Rachel, what about you?
So, similar. I danced when I was a young girl and could not imagine myself speaking in front of audiences. And then my family moved when I was in high school, and I found myself with an amazing theater teacher who encouraged me to audition for things. She was my English teacher, but also in charge of the drama program at school. And so shortly after that, I did indeed audition, and I caught the bug, as it were. And I went to college for theater. And even though I've pursued, on-screen work, on-camera work, I just love live theater. There's nothing like it. And here we are. Like you say, I think I've been in the union for about 23 years. And we just keep at it, doing shows all around the United States. Here, I lived in New York as well. But we love regional theater here in the US. And so we find ourselves in different parts of the country often. And it's a wonderful way to live, meeting the best people in the world.
It's just, you read through the list of the projects you guys have been involved in, and it's fascinating and exhausting all at the same time.
Yeah, on our end too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you, Rachel, you've said it yourself, you've worn many different hats in your career. Do you have a favorite hat, as it were?
Well, it's the hat of the day is always the favorite, Right now I find myself I'm on a peer panel to review grants for the state of Alabama for the Arts Council here. And I'm looking through, all this amazing work that these not-for-profit organizations are doing, and looking for support for administrative programs. And I find, because I'm sort of immersed in this right now, it makes me keenly aware of all of the administrative hats that I've and how much joy that brings of providing opportunity for other artists in that way. I love that. But you know, when I'm reading a play on Wednesday nights, that's the hat of choice then. And I love being an actor and I can't imagine doing something else, you know? So yeah, that's sort of the way my brain works.
But Brendan, your career obviously puts you firmly in the acting side of things. Do you have a preference over kind of the genres you prefer to be involved in, or screen versus stage, or that kind of thing? Or is it just the same with Rachel? It's the hat of the day?
Kind of is the hat of the day. I do a little more, I do creative writing. So it's funny, just before we picked up, I do a lot of caption contests, caption writing. For my birthday, like 12 years ago or something, Rachel got me a subscription to the New Yorker. You know, the New Yorker magazine, you know, has this celebrated caption contest thing that's, you know, that's pretty popular, you know. And so I started to do it and I won it a few weeks later. And I was like, oh, and so that's sort of something I do when I'm not acting. I like to do creative writing, whether it's playwriting or whatever, but caption contest writing is something I just do a lot. But you know, it's funny as far as what genre of performance, it really depends. I mean, we've had the good fortune of really doing a wide spectrum of work. We're company members at a regional theater in Florida, which has been a real gift because, you know, you're sort of built into a system where you're working consistently with fellow team members on all sorts of shows. So we've had a lot of variety. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I kind of enjoy the comedies more than, I mean, I think I inherently enjoy the comedies more. I think I just have more fun with comedies, but it's always great when the tiny theater plays come in and they're, you know, some of these are very serious topics or serious situations. Either one is fun. I think once you drop in and you're committed to it, it really doesn't matter what it is because you're in for it. You're in full throttle and you just go with it. I just wish I was a better dancer. Then I'd be doing musicals. But I'm just not a dancer and I never will be. So it's like, oh, well.
It's all right. Neither am I.
Yeah,
I've tried. I really have. I just like, no.
Just not going to happen. There's just something not going to happen. So, okay, that's fine.
But then, of course, you came together and produced the fabulousness that is Tiny Theatre. How did that, what mind frame resulted in that?
Well, we always preface it by saying one of when you put two creatives in a lockdown, like that's a dangerous mix because it's like we were sheltering in place at our home in Florida, and this was in March of 2020, you know, with no idea how long we were going to shelter in place and how, you know, what this whole thing was going to be. We were one day away from opening a show at the Florida Repertory Theater. We were ready to do Dollhouse Part 2. We were one day away from kicking it off. And suddenly it was like, okay, we're not going to do that. So we had all of this energy built up inside, ready to go deliver. And we had to go home and sort of sit. And it only took about an hour for Rachel to say, this isn't going to work. No. So you had an inspiration, I guess.
Well, I just couldn't bear the thought of someone giving me a green light to do what it is we all do, which is play, you know? And I just thought this is not going to be good for me for not knowing how long this will last. So fairly quickly, as you said, a couple days, I began sending emails to playwriting friends. And just because due to the nature of our career, we have an interesting network of folks, you know, that we're friends with. And so I said, do you have any work, you know, sort of sitting in a drawer that you would like to revisit or that you would give me permission to read, you know, online? And suddenly people started responding in ways that I did not anticipate, Rachel. It was kind of wild. And for full-length plays, monologues, short plays, and it just sort of developed very quickly. And I thought, well, anybody can sort of sit on a couch and read a play. That would be one way to do it. But we were all looking for some kind of joy. I was looking for joy, and the people that I was talking to. And so I thought, well, how can I make this whimsical and magical and fun? So I cleaned out a back bedroom closet and hung some Christmas lights and an old IKEA curtain. And Tiny Theater sort of was born out of this little tiny space.
I remember the first time I stumbled across it, and I thought, this is absolute genius. That you brought theatre into a tiny little space, and it brings entertainment and joy to others in what was essentially a very dark time. Okay, so possibly difficult question. Looking back on everything you've done and everything you've been a part of, do you have a key moment or favorite project you work on when you look back on it now thinking, yeah, that's the one? I ask all my guests that and they all make a face.
That is a really good question.
Looking back across the scope of the career.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a really good question. I have a personal one and a professional one.
Okay.
My personal one is in a rehearsal of John Patrick Shanley's Doubt. I met Brendan Powers.
Oh.
I was thinking that too.
That obviously changed the trajectory of my personal life forever, you know.
Yeah.
But and that was incredibly just a special experience the whole way around. But yeah, so that's my personal one. And then professionally, I did an apprenticeship at Actors Theater of Louisville, which is a Tony winning regional theater here in the US.
Oh, wow.
And the connections that I made during that time of my apprenticeship and the education that I received as an apprentice, both just for the business itself and for the craft, forever changed my professional life.
That's really sweet though. There's a movie or a play in there somewhere.
That's good.
Yeah.
Brendan, what about you?
I agree that that 2007 was when we met in that show, and I was up in Boston and she was in Florida, and I was just there for 6 weeks to do the show, you know, and so there wasn't ever any thought that we would be having an extended relationship, you know. And circumstances were such that I came back to that theater to do a show shortly after that, after Doubt, and that we were there again together for another 6 weeks. And so that was really, those were the 6 weeks that really
informative.
Those were the big 6 weeks. And so it's like really interesting. So yeah, I think we have our years together at Florida Repertory Theater is, again, we're ensemble members there. So I mean, we've done so much of the work we've done together has been at that venue. We've done other shows elsewhere. But yeah, that's sort of that personal. I agree with you about that fabulous thing. Professionally, I was in college and it was a summer program and you're doing it for kids, you know? So it was like every morning 1,000 kids would be bussed to the theater, you know, and you'd do this. And we were doing The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis, you know? And I played Aslan. And we were all in makeup and stuff and the whole, you know, the lion mane and the makeup and the whole, and it was fascinating. And for kids, you could see they were really kind of taken with it. And at the end of every performance, we'd go out in the lobby and we'd stand and say goodbye to the kids, you know, they'd all be, and these are young kids, and they'd come through and they'd all, and I remember this little boy, oh my God, he came down and he was just sort of stone-faced and he just stared, you know, and it wasn't as he didn't look happy, but he wasn't like animated like a lot of the kids were, you know? And he came up and I said, "Hey, how are you?" And he just kind of looked at me and I was like, "Did you enjoy this?" And he still sort of stared at me. And I thought, I wasn't sure what I said. And all of a sudden he just said, "How do you do that?" Oh. And I just said, "Oh." And then I understood his look. You know, he was was captivated. And he just said, "How do you do that?" Oh. And I think those are kind of interesting moments too, when you can inspire people. And you never know those moments, you know. So when that comes out and you see like, wow, here's someone who's been directly affected in a way. And I often wonder like, wow, I wonder what that kid that was 25 years ago, I wonder what that person went into. And if in fact they did stay, you know, they did pursue the arts in some degree, but he was clearly mesmerized by it. And that initial moment is really cool.
So now that you know about my guest for this week, I can tell you about our wonderful playwright. Marge O'Neill Butler is a resident of Miami Beach, Florida, USA. As a playwright, she has had work seen in 32 states of the USA, as well as multiple countries across the world. As well as productions, her collection of 62 plays have had numerous readings and been published. In addition to being a playwright, Marge is the regional rep for the Dramatists Guild in Florida. She is also a member of the New Play Exchange, which I have talked about numerous times on this podcast. She's also a member of Honor Roll and the International Centre for Women's Playwrights. She is also a proud member of Actors Equity, as well as being a mother to 2 grown sons, so a very busy woman, I think you'll agree. Marge's play that we'll hear shortly is called Birthrights and Wrongs. The piece was inspired by a simple prompt of The Waiting Room, provided by a US-based competition in which it's currently a semi-finalist. The play sees Greg and Pam both in a waiting room and bonding over the fact that Greg's wife and Pam's daughter-in-law are giving birth, and they, for various reasons you're about to discover, are in danger of missing it. Theatrical Shenanigans presents Birthrights and Wrongs by Marge O'Neill Butler.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my God. Oh, God.
Hi?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I didn't see you.
You okay?
Yeah, no, I couldn't stand it. She's in so much pain.
It's a hard job.
I know, but... I mean, all those classes, I didn't expect this. She's always under control, stoic. But this... I couldn't stay. I just couldn't.
She'll be fine. With everyone in the room, they'll talk her through it.
She's alone. I mean, there are nurses and everything, but my mother and sister couldn't get here. Oh, gosh, she'll never forgive me.
She's lucky to have you. At least you tried.
I did, but...
She'll let it all go when the baby comes.
Doubt it. Sherilyn's mother died last month, and she's been counting on my mother, my sister, and me. Oh, God. She yelled at me the whole time she was pushing. And it was my fault she was going through this, that I wanted this baby. As I left the room, she said, "I curse you, Greg."
Can I get you some coffee?
Thanks. No, I'm already on edge.
I've never seen a live birth.
Oh?
Always wanted to. Since forever. I used to watch one of those shows that showed a live birth every episode. Loved it.
So, I mean, why are you here?
My daughter-in-law is in labour. First grandchild.
Is she close?
Don't know.
You better go in. You don't want to miss this.
I'm not invited.
What? That's awful. It's such a moment.
Says the man in the waiting room.
I know. I'm such a wuss. But her screams. I hope she never yells at me like that again.
Funny.
Why are you not,
allowed? She's kind of prissy. Doesn't want me to see her private parts, as she called them. I said I could stand up near your head, but no.
Who am I to talk? I ran out the minute she started screaming.
Why don't you go back in? It couldn't be that bad.
My gentle, sophisticated wife sounded like someone was killing her.
Is it a boy or a girl?
Don't know. We didn't want to find out.
Got names picked out?
Almost. We're still deciding.
Mine's a boy. I mean, my son's having a boy. They're calling him Jackson, with an X. So silly to screw up a good name like that, but nobody asked me. I mean, why couldn't they pick a nice, easy name like mine? Pam.
Call your grandson Pam?
You know what I mean.
I think ours will be Sharon, after her mother, or Corbin, if it's a boy.
Nice names. I especially like Corwin.
Corbin, with a B.
Still nice. Why don't you go back in? Give her some company.
Not if she's still in agony. Thanks for talking to me.
It makes the time pass, so thanks to you, too.
She's so beautiful, my wife. She's gone through so much.
That's why you should be there for her.
I'm afraid. I'm stinking afraid.
Of what?
She lost our daughter last year, around this time.
Oh. I'm so sorry. Did she have a tough time with her? You first.
We never really... Too difficult to talk about. So this is supposed to be our rainbow baby. Not to take our little girl's place, but to help us remember her.
Did she have a miscarriage?
No, almost full term. The cord was wrapped around her neck and she...
Couldn't breathe. Yeah. So you went through that birth, though?
No, her water broke early. I was out of town on business. Couldn't get a flight, so she...
Had to do it on her own. You read about these things, but...
You don't think it will happen to you? That's why I wanted to support her. To be there, but... What's the real reason you aren't in there?
You go for the jugular, don't you?
Sorry.
She's punishing me.
You've been doing the monster-in-law thing.
I didn't think she was good enough for him. Never finished college. Still owes a fortune on student loans. Now she wants to go back to school, and I'm like, who's going to look after the baby?
Stuck your nose in.
Big time. I should never have said anything to Bobby about how I felt. She's his wife. They talk.
But you opened your mouth. It's hard sometimes.
The thing is, she's smart. Just wasted a bunch of years not taking life seriously. And because I said something once, she's always assuming the worst of whatever I say. Did you get along with your mother-in-law?
I did, yeah. She really appreciated me. The fact that I took on Sherilyn's loans when we married, then put her through school. She's a teacher now. The kids love her.
Wish I'd done that. Well, not put her through school, but kept my thoughts to myself.
It's not too late.
I hope not. Bobby's my only...
You've got some mending to do.
I do. How come you took her on with her student loans and everything?
It's what you do when you feel it's right. When you couldn't imagine it any other way.
I think my Bobby felt that way.
What if you supported her? I mean, helping with childcare or whatever. So she has something other than motherhood in her future.
Your mother do that?
She doesn't live that close. But she is helping. Hiring a part-time nanny.
Bobby's old room would be perfect for a part-time nursery.
That's good. Give her a break for a few hours. Also, encourage her to start taking one class.
When Bobby was born, I thought my life had ended. Suddenly, I had none. I remember the first time I held him thinking, what have I done? And I wanted him. We wanted him. But the life you know is suddenly gone and everything revolves around the baby. Even your private life shifts. Not that I didn't love my husband, but I guess that's the nature of it.
We went through all of that. She didn't even have our baby girl to cuddle. We worked it out, but it took time.
I've got to be there for her. Carrie, that's her name. She'll need me whether she knows it or not.
Right.
You should go back in. Give it another try.
I should. Would you like to come in with me?
I don't think so. She wouldn't want a stranger in the room.
You're not. You're my friend.
I don't know.
You could watch our baby being born. I know it's not yours, but...
Yeah. That...
You'll regret it if...
If you think so, but make sure it's okay.
Right. Well, don't move. I'll be right back.
Bobby? Oh, how wonderful. I'm so happy for you. I'll bet he is.
Right, she said if I was there, I could bring Attila the Hun if I wanted. Come on. She's crowning big time.
Bobby, be there in a minute. I've got to meet a little someone first. I'll tell you later. Give my love to Carrie. Let's go. Thank you for this. I can't tell you how I always... It's such a miracle.
Move it. I don't want to miss this miracle.
Bet. Boy or girl.
Sherilyn, meet Attila.
I'm so happy to be here. Whoa. That's one big head.
I do love a happy ending. That was Pixie Frost as Greg and Cathy Flockton as Pam in Birthrights and Wrongs by Marge O'Neill Butler. So, guys, what are your thoughts?
What an interesting play.
Well, the neat thing about these short plays, it's fascinating to see how much can get put into a 10-minute play.
Yes.
The first time I was, listening to it, I was like, okay, where's this going? Where's this going? But it taps into so many, I don't know, it just taps into so many sort of universal themes in such a short moment.
I'm always interested how playwrights put us into scenarios, when it's you find yourself two characters in a scenario of like what's going to happen here, a waiting room in a hospital. Like what a fabulous situation of it's almost like sitting in two airplane seats of like two strangers who are forced to be in a situation together, right? Having their own experiences and then colliding together in some way. And so this was a unique scenario of how can we learn and grow from each other in this sort of pressure cooker situation of because you don't know what's happening on the other side of those doors for those women who are in the process of giving birth, and I love that Marge gives us an opportunity for the woman who can't be with her own children experiencing birth to come and experience that with this new friend, unbelievable. What an unbelievable opportunity for her to have that experience.
And it does, and as you say, it does conclude with a positive, wait a minute, yes, there's opportunities here to connect, and maybe I could turn Bobby's room into a nursery, and she's going to need some help. She may not know it yet, but she's going to need some help. She's going to need some is that sense of, okay, I think something positive is gonna come out of this. I find it's the kind of play in the moment you listen to and you experience, but it's one of those that you absolutely think about afterwards, and you start to use a little bit more on that moment and that moment and then that moment. So it's just full of that kind of stuff.
That's interesting, actually, because it all transpires in a waiting room, right?
Yeah.
So you're forced by nature of the waiting room to just sort of sit quietly and reflect or whatever, So you're confronted with your own stuff in a way, both individually and then by virtue of them connecting, to the two characters connecting, they are able to share those things. It's like it's interesting.
It exposes as well what is a fundamental characteristic of the human human beings is that we will bond in moments of great joy and moments of great sadness, even with complete strangers, because that's who Pam is. When he first walked into that room, he has no idea who she is or why she's there or what she's done, if anything, and yet he's still, because of his own moment of, as you said before, fear and anxiety, he feels this desire to bond with her. I mean, maybe because he needs someone to talk to about what he's feeling.
Right.
That's a great point.
Well, when he has that interesting line, because she says initially, well, she's not there, she's not welcome because, Carrie doesn't want her to see her private parts and things like that. And then he's the one who says, why are you really here? Or why aren't you really there?
Yeah.
Like the specific exact line, but he opens that and says, why aren't you really? And then she talks a bit more, about the other situations. So you're right. It is sort of like this inherent bonding that just starts to happen in those situations. I
did go through a bit of a roller coaster with my feelings towards Greg when I first read it. When he first came out and he was just like, oh, I'm scared, she's yelling so much, blah blah blah, and I was started thinking, oh, shut up, she is going through birth, stop moaning. And then obviously I went further in and was like, oh, okay, this makes sense now.
Yes, because there is an explanation of, he's absolutely justified because of the previous situation with the pregnancy and just being afraid, Yeah, but I felt the same way, Rachel. That's funny. Of like, come on, buddy, do the right thing.
But it also must be quite debilitating for him as well, because there's when someone you love is in pain or in fear or both, your first instinct is to want to protect them from what is hurting them or fix whatever is causing them pain. And he can't do that. He can't air quotes fix this issue,
right.
And that obviously amalgamates to the fear that's going through him after what happened with their last pregnancy.
Right. Yeah.
It's an interesting little play.
There's also obviously you want to discuss the characters as you see them, but then you also find yourself drawn to talking about the characters that you don't see. Like, is Carrie overreacting by refusing her mother-in-law access to seeing her grandchild being born because of something she said? And it's also, you also have this thing at the back of your mind that Greg's wife is still back there giving birth and he stood here having this conversation.
Wow.
It's true. And is she really going to be okay with the stranger coming in? Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good point.
Yeah, and it also has a dark underline to it with what happened with the previous pregnancy and the miscarriage and stuff, but it's not all about that. As I say, it does come back to, to use the cliche, the miracle of life, rather than just focusing on the loss that he's already been through. Which is why I like the fact that he does in the end, pull his socks up and go, right, I'm going in there now.
Yeah.
And they also talk about how when a child comes into a couple's life, how that changes things, how the relationship between the couple can get changed because priorities, and so it's all of those major themes, that have layers and layers and layers within themselves.
Yeah.
That it's like you can listen to this play, see the play, and you can just start like listening, like boom, major. This is the English teacher in me talking. It's like it just lit a bam theme, bam, and you can just break those down even more of like where it's going. That it really taps into a lot of human themes.
Yeah.
It's a play that keeps on giving. I don't think you can. If it was being performed in a theatre, I don't think it'd be a case of walking out and going, well, that was nice, and that's all you say.
Right. Because you do keep thinking on it, as you say, at the beginning of your conversation here, is that you read it or you hear it and it's like, okay, and then you just keep processing different components of it as the day goes by. It's like, oh wait, you revisit it,
Yeah.
So the big three for plays for me are they need to entertain, they need to make you feel something, and they present the want to talk about them. And this ticks all three boxes for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
So, all in all, what are your thoughts towards the piece?
Really
I enjoyed it, and it would be neat to see it done.
And I would, it's curious. I would, as you say, like what happens if it's exploded out and you really hear these different voices, or if it's exploded out and it remains a 2-character play.
Yeah.
Because now they're bonded in a way through the childbirth that they've experienced together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So does she want to see the child after? Like, what happens next?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because it's like you're curious about what happened before and you're curious about what happens next.
Yeah.
And what's happening right now. Yeah, it's interesting. It does keep working at you, this play. The more you think about it and talk about it, the more you sort of want to think about it and talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it works on you. I love that. That's something that I love about a play. Does it work on you in a way?
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Okay, we are almost out of time, but guys, thank you so much for being here. It's been absolutely wonderful to talk to you. You're both, I keep saying the word amazing, I'm sorry.
That's very sweet.
We applaud you and what you've achieved too.
Absolutely, Rachel. It's
like,
amazing.
It can be done. It's like creativity finds the way. If you want to do it, there's ways to get it done. And you never know how it will reap the, if we knew 3 years ago that we'd still be in the closet. The plays, and we'd have met these people we've met and these connections, like it's very exciting.
But let's say it's been absolutely fabulous to have you, and thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us, Rachel.
No problem. And that brings our 8th episode of season 2 to an end. I hope you enjoyed the play and my wonderful chat with Rachel and Brendan as much as I did. Moving forward, we have 2 festively themed plays coming up starting in 2 weeks' time on the 26th of November with a play by George Sapio, who you may remember from season 1. As always, if you've enjoyed this podcast, then please make sure you like and follow our Facebook page, or maybe share the Podbean page with someone you think could do with some theatrical shenanigans in their life. I, of course, look forward to being back with you in 2 weeks' time, but in the meantime, though, I've been Rachel Feeney-Williams, this is Theatrical Shenanigans, bringing down the curtain and saying, I hope you can join us next time. Theatrical Shenanigans was an RFW Scripts production, with music written and produced by Chris Cody.